Hey everybody, what's up? It has been a long time, but it's really great to be back here on Banger TV for another review on Overkill Reviews. But before I get into today's little gem, let me tell you what I've been up to recently. First up, I went to Metallica with my whole family here in Toronto a little while ago, and what a fucking show. Big shout out to my dear friend Rob Trujillo. Me, my two kids, my wife were in the snake pit. My kids' jaws were on the floor because they're like this close from Metallica. Highlight of the night, of course, for this old codger, Call of Cthulhu. Man, that was the highlight for me for sure. And my daughter, who's 8 years old, bless her, she was so close to just like packing it in. Dad, we gotta go home. And then, of course, last song, Enter Sandman. What do? They drop some gigantic beach balls from the ceiling, and that made her happy. So it was a good night out. The other update is finally we can announce this to the world. Banger Films' upcoming documentary on Judas Priest has been announced. It is called The Ballad of Judas Priest, and proud to say that I co-directed the film with none other than Tom Morello. So not much more I can say right now other than I think the film's pretty solid, and I can't wait for you all to see it. All right, enough about my personal life and things coming your way soon. Let's talk about what I'm here to do now. I'm going to talk about a record from a band that I've loved for over 20 years, and I've never really felt that I've given them the love and the due that they deserve here on Banger TV. So, buckle up, here we go.
Bodies dropped into a greater beat, millstones keeping that pace. Columns march as if to a beat, no face is left to trace. The land is scarred by trenches deep, the scars upon the earth. Continents turn to battlefields when life has lost its worth. Shadow cast on society, a thin era of civility. From a stone waiting primal hell to a coffin of bombs, war and shall remain.
That, my friends, is none other than the song Warhead by The Haunted, the lead-off track from their brand new album released today on Century Media Records called Songs of Last Resort. The Haunted forms from the ashes of At the Gates, a band that I've spent many an hour here on Banger TV talking about. Three members, Anders M. Jonas Bjorler and drummer Adrian Erlandson, go on to form a new band. Importantly, they join forces with a fella named Patrick Jensen. Sidebar Witchery, also an incredible band, we'll get to that. And they form a band called The Haunted, of course, with Peter Dolving on vocals. Their first album, self-titled, The Haunted, comes out in 1998 and really kind of, I think it's fair to say, unexpectedly blindsides the underground extreme metal community because At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul was such a massive album. The first album, a bit leaner, a bit more thrash-focused, a bit more of a hardcore edge because of Dolving's vocals, really makes a big impact. Then what happens is it gets a little twisty and turny. Original vocalist Peter Dolving is replaced by Marco Aro, and for me, two fantastic records with The Haunted Made Me Do It and One Kill Wonder. Kind of a new sound of The Haunted is formed with Aro's vocals being a little lower in the guttural range. Also, what happens is enter in my estimation, one of the most underrated drummers in extreme metal, and that is Per Jensen, not to be confused with guitarist Patrick Jensen. Per has this magnificent ability to play kind of straight ahead thrash for the most part, not entirely, but man, his rolls and his feel on the kit is absolutely fucking blazing and has always been one of my favorite thrash drummers. Then what happens is Aro is then replaced back by Dolving, and they put out a whole string of records through the late 2000s. And in my humble opinion, this is not the era of the Haunted that I typically go back to, but what happens in 2014 is we get the return of Erlandson on drums, we get the return of Aro on vocals, Anders Bjorler leaves the picture, and in comes Ola England, and they put out the album Exit Wounds, which for many of us sort of OG, crusty, Haunted fans is a bit of a return to the original form. And so that's the lineup that has stuck now for the last several years, and the lineup that sets us up for this new record. One more thing before I get into the new record. It's important to contextualize this record for me because it is fucking incredible, because for me, it is a direct hearkening back to those three first Haunted records. The Haunted Made Me Do It, and One Kill Wonder, which for me was when they really crystallized a super aggressive, super thrashy dimension to what many have called, of course, is the Swedish extreme metal sound. The riffs that this team has put together over the years are still goosebump, hairs standing up on my arms, can't get my feet back on the ground. Some of the most incredible thrash, in my opinion, that's come out since the 2000s. Okay, so Songs of Last Resort. Well, many of you who are fans will have known the two lead tracks released prior to today. And you know right out of the gate that this seems to me, a pretty deliberate attempt by this band to really nail that sound that they really had a big hand in pioneering back in the early 2000s. Fast, fast, fast. A credit to these guys, most of which I believe are early to mid 50s. They are fucking cranking on this record. A shout out to Adrian, the drummer, man. I don't know how you do it. The footwork, the rolls on this album are the product of a man half your age, so good job. I also want to give a shout out to Patrick Jensen. Lived in Edmonton for a few years, so shout out to Canada. That guy continues to spit out some, in my opinion, of the best thrash riffs still to this day.
Raining down, no escape, cleansing pain, a sea of flames. You're down, evil wing, or shall burn, infernal place, no return, smothering waste. You're down, in my way.
Other big moments for me on this record, the track Bleed Out, number 4, a bit of a nod to Hollow Ground, maybe, off Made Me Do It, a bit more melody in there, a more mid-tempo song, throwing in a little bit of keys in there, intentional or not. It seems like a little bit of a salute to their brothers in Flames, but regardless, it's a super strong track, and it plays a nice role in the record because it kind of breaks up just that high BPM bludgeoning that goes through most of this album.
Enough time is no reason to dwell. Fortune and death only time will tell. The threats lay bare. I wish you well. To give in, to bleed out, to breathe in, and breathe out. To give in, to bleed out, to breathe in,
Another standout, track 5, Unbound, which seems to me, Patrick, maybe just a little bit of an ode to Witchery, another band from this time, from this era, from this place that I still listen to this day, and still going for that matter. Unbound definitely seems to be a bit of a nod to that more straight ahead, old school, almost kind of like Merciful Fate type riffing, but it's really nice to hear with this ballsy production behind this new Haunted album.
Necropolis in madness drowned, stare into my starless sky unbound.
Another couple tracks I want to mention before wrapping up. Collateral Carnage starts with an eerily similar riff to a Beatles song that Motley Crue covered a while ago. Maybe intentional, maybe not. Anyway, cool track. But one of the standouts for me is track 7 called Through the Fire, which again, I guess you know what you like. So it's a fast, crazy riffing thrash track, but it has this drop in the middle that leads into the guitar solo that I've only played that section of that song, maybe 10 times in the last 48 hours. It's just, one of those tempo shifts that just seems to come at a moment where you're kind of expecting it, maybe kind of not, but when it hits, it's the fucking heaviest moment on the record for me. Nothing fancy about it, folks. It's just all about timing.
Taking a storm in a bliss, no escape from what's unseen. In a bliss.
All right, so there you go. I'm going to give this thing a skull rating, and it's going to be good. Surprise, surprise. But let me go back to what I said at the outset. The most important thing I wanted to do in this review is draw attention to a band that is still churning out some really high-level thrash metal that I've never felt they've quite got the due that they deserve. Of course, there's this element of the At the Gates shadow, and of course the members have been in and out of other bands over the years, but you know what? This is a band that's very close to my heart. This is a band that really inspired me to put a band together with my buddies here in Toronto in the early 2000s. We basically just wanted to do our best job of completely ripping off The Haunted. So that's why I'm doing this review. If you've never seen them live, go check them out. They do not drop a BPM. You will not be disappointed. So, what is it? It's 4.5 out of 5 skulls because, yeah, there's a few tracks late in the album that aren't as good as the first 7, but find me an album that doesn't do that. So there you go. It's an almost perfect album here on Overkill Reviews. So let me give some shout outs to some other albums you may enjoy. If you like what you've heard today, you gotta go to Witchery, Symphony for the Devil. You've got to go to The Crown, Death Race King, and there's many, many more. But let me also give a shout out to some sort of much lesser known bands from that beautiful period of early 2000s Swedish thrash, Dimension Zero, Terror 2000, and Corporation 187. Careful about the rabbit hole, kids. There's a lot to be found.
Raining down, no escape, cleansing pain, I see your flames.